Well, if you were looking for a luxury wagon in 1971, there are a few better choices than the 1971 Mercury Colony Park wagon. This Colony Park wagon is quite interesting in a number of aspects. The first is that this very wagon is featured in the same color combination as what is shown in the 1971 Mercury full-line brochure. This kind of custardy color with the wood paneling or faux wood paneling sides. That's, of course, just a sticker by this point. That's not real wood. But the overall look of this wagon is just super cool. The 1971 Mercurys, as those who have seen my green 71 Mercury, have this great front end with the very rectilinear type face on it. In 1972, they would go to a larger egg crate grill, and I think this 71 grill is particularly handsome and also quite imposing. Imagine seeing this thing coming up behind you in your rear view mirror. I also love how the bumper guards are so spindly compared to the overall size of the front end. Now, this Mercury wagon, this particular one, you can see also has the optional twin comfort lounge seat interior. That's those high back buckets. And out back, you can see that this wagon has the rear-facing seats that face one another. Ford had this approach, whereas the other car companies tended to have rear seats that faced looking out the back of the wagon. Not quite sure which one was better. I guess it was preference, and Ford kept this style for a long, long time, all the way up, I believe, until the 1991 Colony Park, which was the last. This also has the dual-action tailgate. You can see the two hinges that are on the door. You could swing the door open like this, or you could put the glass down and have it drop down like a tailgate. Here's a closer look at the seats. It's pretty tight. I don't know that I'd want to be in those seats for all that long. You actually could get an optional checker or chessboard set to go in the back of these as well. Now, turning to the driver's side of the vehicle, this person has had this wood grain redone, and I have to say it looks really, really good. Oftentimes, these wood stickers are kind of checked, and even mine on my Colony Park from 1974 is not looking all that great. But this one has been redone and looks really nice. Interestingly, Ford went away from the so-called yacht deck paneling sides that graced earlier and later Colony Parks in this 1971 model. Those earlier and later ones have a black stripe or lines in the faux wood grain sticker to kind of denote planks. But this is just an overall clean design. And as we come to the driver's seat, again, you can see that this vehicle has the twin comfort lounge seat option, has manual windows with the standard Monterey style door panel. It does have automatic climate control, though. You can see the temperature reading at the top. That is Ford's early automatic climate control. The accessory button beneath the climate control is what operates the window on the tailgate. And look at those twin comfort lounge seats. They are as comfortable as they look. I have a number of vehicles with them. 1971 was the first model year for those twin comfort lounge seats. They would last all the way until 1973. They still called them twin comfort lounge seats after that, but they didn't have the high back feature, which I believe was just so cool. Apparently, ladies didn't like it because it interfered with their ponytails, and some rear seat passengers didn't like it because it interfered with overall visibility. This car does have the standard wheel covers. I think the deluxe wheel covers on these marquee, the turbine vane wheel covers, do look a lot better, but nonetheless, this one is still an overall handsome wagon. And under hood in these Colony Parks, you could get a choice of 3 different engine options. The standard engine option was the 400 cubic inch V8, making 260 horsepower through a 2-barrel carburetor. One up from that was the 429 cubic inch big block with a 2-barrel carburetor. I should say 2 Venturi is what Ford called it, making 320 horsepower. And the next up from that was a 429 cubic inch V8, making 360 horsepower, topped by a 4 Venturi or 4-barrel carburetor. Each of these engines had quite a bit of torque, though. The 400 made 400 pound-feet. The 429 2 Venturi made 460 pound-feet, and the 429 4 Venturi made 480 pound-feet. So they really were stump pullers, and overall great engines for the time. The 460 would not come along until the 1972 model year, about halfway through that model year, as it was a Lincoln exclusive until that point. But both of the 429s in this wagon were high compression V8s, meaning The car's got a bit of scoot to it despite its overall weight and length. On the topic of length, one interesting thing about these wagons that many don't know is that the Mercury wagon actually rode atop the LTD wheelbase. Regular Mercuries rode atop 124-inch wheelbase. The LTD rode atop 121-inch wheelbase, and that is what the wagon here that you see is based upon. So as opposed to other automakers like Chrysler as an example, if you got the Plymouth wagon, it was on the Chrysler wheelbase. Ford went the opposite way and put the Mercury on the lower level LTD wheelbase, meaning that this wagon is 221 inches long. And believe it or not, despite its looks, the wagon is actually shorter than the 1971 Mercury Marquis sedan or the coupe. The sedan or the coupe are about 225 inches in overall length, whereas this wagon is about 4 inches shorter because of the wheelbase. So you can impress your friends with that little bit of Ford trivia that the wagons are actually on a shorter wheelbase and have shorter overall length. And consequently, they really don't weigh that much more than the sedans because you've lost that length and you save a little bit of weight there despite all that glass in the back that clearly adds a bit of heft. Now, how did this Mercury Colony Park wagon compare to the GM clamshell wagons or the Chrysler wagons of the time, like the Town & Country? Well, I will say that this wagon, having driven all three, has a wonderfully smooth ride and a very quiet interior. The Chrysler wagons are actually pretty noisy on the inside if you want to take them on a road trip, but they do have a wonderful 440 V8 under hood. The GM clamshell wagons also have a very smooth ride, and I would say are better handlers. It's not quite as smooth as the Mercury, and these Mercuries, the doors open and close much better than the GMs. You can also see that the Mercury employed the full door frames, and they're trimmed in this brushed metal look, whereas the GM wagons just had painted door frames. A little bit different here. Of course, the Twin Comfort lounge seats was a Ford exclusive, and they are more comfortable, I would say, than the seats in the GMs and the Chryslers overall. So, needless to say, the Mercury was a very luxurious wagon. The only thing I will point out is that the 429, while it does move this car with some speed, really it's not as fast as if you drive any of the GM cars with the 455 or 454 big block engine under hood in the wagons. And it's probably about on par with the Chrysler 440 of the era. And the Achilles heel for these Mercury wagons, if you got the 4-barrel carburetor, was really that carburetor itself, the Autolite 4300. If you got the 400 or the 429 with the 2-barrel, you got a very, very reliable Autolite 2100 carburetor that was pretty bulletproof. And side note, you can actually run those Autolite 2100s with the top off of them. Super cool. Hope you enjoyed this look at this rare 1971 Colony Park wagon. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the video thumbnails at bottom left and right for some suggestions for you.